What's up, everybody? OCD Mikey back for another edition of Audiophile Bible by Mikey, OCD Mikey. Just so you guys who don't know me are clear, I'm an audio dealer. I sell you hi-fi, okay? And I give you, I'm not paid, I'm not sponsored. Nobody sends me crap to give them good reviews and gives me free gear. None of that stuff. I have a system that's $250,000. And I've had everything in between. I started out as a hobbyist, just like many of you, with a freaking Denon receiver, a 3810, I remember it now, and some cheap-ass Wharfdale speakers that I got on some auction site. That's how I started 24 years ago. For the last 23 years, I have been doing this as my only source of income. So this is my life. I am a professional. I'm not just a hobbyist. I'm not just a clerk at a store. I'm not just a YouTube guy that decided to pop up and try and get clicks, okay? So I care about your sales. That's all that matters to me. I curate audio systems. So now that we're clear on that, okay, I'm going to go into number 3 installment of the Audiophile Bible, okay? Where we left off last time was, what are you going to do with the room? The first thing was, how are you going to listen? You're going to listen as background, or are you going to get serious? The next step was, if you're going to get serious, do you have a family and multi-purpose room that you need to work around? If you do, I'm not going to address that. I'm going to move on to the people that either can commit a certain end of a room or a nook or an enclave or whatever, that they can actually carve out a little area of their multi-purpose room for hi-fi, or that they can have their own room. Let's go here. We will say for the committed. And this in no way am I saying that people that have multi-purpose rooms aren't committed. It just, their hands are tied. So they can't really, I'm not going to try and coax those into spending more money when they really shouldn't, okay? Until they can commit. When you can commit to an area, an enclave, a nook, at the very least, or as much as a whole room, then you can spend, then I'll let you spend more money, okay? But I'm not going to let you spend a lot of money if your hands are tied with the room and how the setup is, okay? So here is for the committed. Now, I will enter this, and it will be the same for both the people that have a nook or an enclave or that have their own room. We're going to go into this the same way, okay? So the first thing to do is we want to get make sure that our AC power is straight, and when I mean straight, I mean the ground is good, okay? So what you need to do, and here's some things to do on your checklist. 1, check house ground, okay? So check your house ground. That's the first thing to do. Don't ask me how exactly to do it. All I know is you can, you go out to where the ground rod is in the yard, you find the ground rod and make sure that there's a wire, or it's a wire, it's a big fat, heavy gauge, like copper. It's not stranded, right? It's going to go, it's like a copper bendy single wire. It'll go up to your meter box. Usually it attaches to the meter box, then it comes down into the ground and goes into an 8-foot rod into the ground, okay? And it'll be bonded on top with the clamp that holds that wire that goes then up to the box. Sometimes in some places, in some states, you can use the house ground from the copper wiring, piping, the water pipe. So if your water pipe goes out to the yard and it's copper, okay, sometimes they will bond to that copper pipe that goes into the yard because it's a ground, and then that can go up to your meter box, usually on the outside, but the ones that go to the piping usually go up to the switch panel on the inside. So I suggest you look online, maybe there's a YouTube video, how to test the ground of your house, of your apartment, whatever. There's got to be ways that you can go into the third prong and then test to see if there's a good ground that actually has a ground. I found when I went out into my yard that the lawnmower guys, the landscapers, they bring a lawnmower by and crank, it hits that thing and it knocks the wire off. So I find this wire, here's the bond where it's supposed to, and it's sticking out here, jigga, 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 not even attached to, jigga, jigga, I know, not even attached to the rod. and then you don't have a ground on the house. Then the house is ungrounded, okay? So that's no good. That will prevent hums, okay? So this whole thing, the first thing we're doing is we are preemptively striking against hum in your audio system, because hum is like the #1 enemy. You can't do SHIT if you have a hum in your audio rig. It's another reason why I like XLR balanced. We'll get into that later. But we want to eliminate hum before we even make it. So this is the first thing. Just check your house ground. Make sure your house ground is good, okay? Number 2, get AC filtering. Okay? So get AC filtering. I sell something called a Puritan Audio Labs. I normally don't like AC filters because a lot of times they can hinder the dynamics of an audio rig. If you have one that has a transformer in it, okay, and that's another no transformer, XFMR. This is how we write it in the industry, okay? No transformer, okay? You don't want one with a big transformer, and a lot of them will have that, okay? There is no transformer that will fit inside a regular piece of audio gear that is big enough, okay? If it fits in a piece of a standard size audio gear, it's not big enough. You're going to tap it out. Your amps are going to tap that thing out. It's going to squeeze your dynamics. And I don't even care if it's a PS Audio regenerator, okay? We've plugged into the wall behind PS Audio regenerators, and it sounds better straight out of the wall. Maybe that regenerator thing will protect you from surges and things like that, which straight into the wall won't. But that's another good thing to decide at this point. Do you want protection over surges, or do you want sonic, okay? Because typically things that prevent surges like metal oxide varistors, MOVs, you've heard of those, things like that are going to impede the sound quality. It's going to make it not as good, but it will protect it from surge or brownout or whatever. If you don't have, I mean, where I live, we never have that situation. I can count in the 16 years that I've lived here, like 5 times that the power's ever even gone out. It goes out, comes right back. It never sags. So if you don't have that problem like me, then you don't need any like protection. When there's a thunderstorm, I unplug my damn rig. Don't leave your rig plugged in when there's lightning. That's all, you know, that's how you protect it best. Because if lightning hits to your house, direct strike, or in your yard, it is going to jump whatever protection you have. It's going to leap right over it. It's going to zap your gear anyways from a direct hit. So unplug your gear if you really want to protect it. But what I'm talking about here with the AC filtering, what you don't know is that there's high frequency that rides on your AC lines. It comes all the way down the street. It's out there. It comes into your house. It's running past the lights and all this crap, and it gets high frequency noise. It gets induced noise on it from radio transmissions, everything, okay? So by the time it gets to your socket and you're plugging into it, you've got high frequency hash on that AC power. You need to clean that stuff off, okay? So I recommend a Puritan Audio Labs AC filter. They start at, I think they start below $1,000, and then their top of the line is only $2,400, okay? Now, some of you might think, oh, $2,400, that's a lot before I even started my audio system, okay? But let me clue you in to the high end where I reside. There are, I mean, $20,000, $30,000 power filters, maybe even higher now. But $10,000 AC filters are quite common. Okay, so for $2,400, Puritan Audio Labs, it's a steal, in my opinion. That's what went into my rig 4 years ago. It's never come out, okay? I sell them like crazy. People absolutely love them. I have unequivocal return policy, not one return. And I've got like probably 60 of them out in the field. So anyway, so get your AC power, get your ground and AC power set first. This is the first thing you need to do, okay? Because then cheaper gear will sound better. If you get the AC, if you get the hash off your AC, a less expensive piece of gear is going to sound better. It's going to be less affected. The cheaper audio gear is affected much more heavy by hash on the AC lines because it doesn't have a complex power supply the way the expensive gear does. Expensive gears have massive power supplies. They should anyways. Massive power supplies overbuilt. Those things actually help clean the AC power. before they send the DC to the inside of the amp or whatever. But this is the first. These are the first things I'm telling you about ground zero, right? If we're at Everest, this is base camp. Okay, you got to get your shit straight for base camp before you start trying to buy all this crazy, amazing audio equipment. Okay, so here's the first thing. We can also talk about room acoustics. Okay, and I'm probably going, these could probably be 2 different videos, but I'm going to do this quick. Room acoustics, you need to, if you live in a place that's like a chalet with glass everywhere, you're in Vail, Colorado, and you've got like 3 levels and it's all glass and it's like, you know, the floors are well, they'd probably be wood up in the ski areas, but nonetheless, if it's super reflective, there's certain rooms, what I'm getting at, there's certain rooms you cannot overcome. No matter how much you spend on audio, no matter what you spend on room, there's nowhere to put the room treatment because, so you need to assess, first of all, if your room is worthy of making a system in. Okay, most of us in most residential situations, our rooms are fine. They're good for that. You want to put some sort of bass trap, some sort of diffusion or bass trap. I like, and I also sell ASC tube traps. Now, the reason I sell these brands are because they're things that I love that I use myself. I have them back here. I'll have them at Capital Audio Fest. ASC tube traps. It's Acoustic Sciences Corporation out of the West Coast. Oregon, something like that. Or Washington, something, I can't remember, but over there. And these things are phenomenal. Depending on how you spin them, you either have diffusion and reflection or you have absorption, depending on how. So you can tune these by twisting them in the room. These are going to help eat up any of the spare bass waves that are making things boomy, or they can help focus the highs. So a couple pieces, ASC tube trap. These are my faves. Times 2. Okay, that's what I'd say. Put at least 2 of these puppies in the corners, or put them up behind your speakers, or something like that. Put some form of room treatment in, even if it's just a little bit. Even if you're covering the windows with a blanket or whatever. If you've got reflection windows, you have to. And I suggest you do a little bit of research on room acoustics and how speakers work. They have the first reflection points, so you just need to understand this stuff. And then you can aim your speakers different ways so that they don't reflect off the wall, or you can put absorbers right at your first reflection point to help with that, depending on your room and how you're set up. If you're set up in a nook, it's going to be harder than if you have your own room and you can do whatever you want, of course. So these are the first things to know. Let's get ground zero set up. Before you even start your rig, get your ground set up, get your AC filtered, and put in at least some sort of room treatment because it can only help, okay? If you have a really tough room that there's nowhere to put treatment, these things are columns, or they fit in corners where they have quarter round where you can stuff them in a corner. If you can't fit anything, there's ways to deal with it with furniture that'll absorb, like chairs and stuff like that. You can still build around this, but again, I'm giving you the basics, and you can use this however you want. So that is our installment number 3. Stick around and tune in for number 4 coming right up. All right, see you.